Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Thank you for joining us. I hope you're all keeping safe out there. And for us, we're enjoying the sunshine. Had a little bit of rain out there yesterday, but I hope you're able to get out and breathe the fresh air a little bit. But I hope you're safe and everybody's comfortable, and we'll get through this soon. But I'm glad you're able to join us today and on our ZENcast day. I missed you last week. We were doing every week up until we decided to go every other week. I think we have a little updated material for you, so I think we can keep on this cadence for a little bit, see how this goes. Your feedback is welcome. Please put comments in the recordings or in chat. Be sure to let us know how you feel about this particular ZENcast and what you'd like to see, because we want to make it sure you have ownership of this and you enjoy it. So I'm hoping everybody can hear me. Do we have any shout outs out there in chat? Anybody out there? Looking for some response. Just go in, if you log into chat, you'll be able to respond to me in real time. So just want to let you know that. Hang on a second. Turn that volume down. Okay, so today we're doing some ZCM update 1. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. I know we had a PM on, talked about what's in update 1. We had some demos and some of the features in update 1. We've done an installation on update 1, and today we're going to do some logging. We're going to check out the logging in update 1 as it's happening. If you need to troubleshoot it, what to look for, where are those logs, if I have an appliance or a Windows box. So I'm hoping that I get some response from you in chat so you can help guide me on what you're interested in as far as trying to troubleshoot this. But as we move forward, please join in chat and let us know. I appreciate everybody that was on 2 weeks ago or last week or 2 weeks ago on the beginning of May. It was a good session. Let's go ahead and get into ZCM 2020 updates. Again, what is ZENcast? Why would you be here? Well, it's basically ZENworks administrators or anything you want to know about ZENcast. Come here every other week. We'll try. Hello, Enrique. Thanks for coming in. Oh, you're out in Spain. Thank you so much. It's late for you out there, but I appreciate you coming in. So it's basically being able to ask your questions that you have about ZENworks. I may not have all the answers, but I can get you some direction. Sometimes we'll have other people on so that we can help answer those immediately. At this time, we're going to cover ZCM 2020 Update 1. And Enrique, if you have any questions, be sure to let me know. If I'm missing something or something doesn't come clear, be sure to let me know. A couple of things about this channel, ZENcast channel, or the Micro Focus Support and Training channel. A little bit of housekeeping. Log into the YouTube chat. I'm going to scoot over my YouTube chat so you can see it. So, oops, hang on a second. Let me move this over. Okay, so this is a chat. If you log into the chat, you're able to respond with direct messages. You can DM me, direct message me. I can respond to Enrique. So if I start typing his name down here, he'll come up and I can say, I can respond to him. Okay. So it gives you guys a little bit more communication between each other or answering questions somebody else might have. I appreciate Enrique for putting that in so we can use that as an example. So be sure to log into the YouTube chat while we're on live stream. Okay, and you will, hello Alyssa, thank you for joining us. You'll be able to see what's going on as well as we can respond to that. 2 from Spain. Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today. All right, I'm going to move this back over a little bit. Hang on, I get this. My screen does funky things if I do that. So you can direct message with the @ sign, right? The exclamation point is the command. So throughout my presentation, you'll see these exclamation points with a couple of whatever next to it, alphanumerics next to it, and you can actually get the URL. So for instance, if there's a URL I'm talking about, I'll show you in just a minute. You can actually click on the URL in chat to get that. So you don't have to copy it down or go back into the recording afterwards and try and figure out manually typing it in. So we'll show you the commands in just a moment. A little bit of YouTube settings at the bottom. If you go to the gear, try and put autoplay off so that you get the quality that you want in the quality autoplay 720p 60. So if you go there, that'll give you a little bit more steady YouTube response so that it doesn't keep trying to adjust automatically on you. Okay, so we're gonna, and then subscribe down below. So when we go live, I normally go live 20 minutes prior to, so that I can set up, get everything going, but it notifies you 20 minutes ahead of time so that you can adjust your time and get in and be able to participate. So be sure to subscribe to the Micro Focus support and training channel, and we'd love to have you join us every other week, and it kind of warns you ahead of time. And then also we're on Twitter and LinkedIn, so you'll see those come through those if you're on those particular forums as well. Okay. All right, let's move on. So we have some conference gatherings coming up. Micro Focus Virtual Universe is starting today. Okay, so that's USA for North America. It starts today for the next 3 days. Sign in to register so that you can get to some of those particular sessions. There's a whole series of sessions going on these 3 days, so dive in. If you have a particular product, be sure to dive into that to see what else you can learn about it. It turned out real. The EMEA last spring or early, I think it was December, went virtual, and it was wonderful. They had a great turnout. Actually, it was January. They had a great turnout, and so they're doing a virtual universe for North America because of the COVID, and we're hoping for a great turnout there too. But go there. So for instance, if you look at right after that, you see the exclamation universe. So if you were to go ahead and type in exclamation universe in chat, it should respond with the particular URL. It should take a second and it'll come up. Next conference is the TTP Virtual Conference 2020 USA. That is for academics, and there's going to be some workshops. So the weeks of the 13th through the 20th, the weeks of the 13th and the week of the 20th, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, each week, they'll have sessions. Again, this is virtual. And then Friday and Monday, between those 2 weeks, we're going to have some TTP workshops. Okay, a little more in-depth, deep dive, a little longer session to be able to give you some details on different products and so forth. So you see in the chat where it gave you that universemicrofocus.com/website. You can click on that without having to type it all out from my slides. Okay, so that's what those exclamation points are for. So for instance, if we wanted TTP, and I'll try and put these in the chat as we go along so you guys don't miss the URLs. Okay, there's a few of them, but I want to make sure that you got the information you need to get to some of those sites and those events and so forth. So I'm going to move this back over. You kind of get the gist of that, and we'll cover it again in a little bit. But I did have chat in my stream for the longest time, and because the stream was new, people didn't really know how to participate in that, so they weren't really using it, and it was taking up space on the screen here. So just want to let you know that I may include that back in future streams so that you can actually see the conversation that's going on if you're not in chat, because you don't have to be in chat to watch this. The next is the Micro Focus ZENcast YouTube channel. This one here, again, it's the first and third Tuesdays of each month. at 0900 Mountain Time, North America, and the Microfocus Support and Training channel. If you subscribe to it, so if we type in subscribe, which is where you are now, so kind of redundant, but if you subscribe to that particular channel, it will then notify you as we're coming up. So there's a couple of things that are going on with this particular channel. And I'm glad to be here. They've extended it. We're going on for another 3 months. We want to keep it going. If you think that it's a bad time or you wish it was a different time zone, if you want it during the day, the evening, one thing you can do is take this survey. And it will ask you some of the things about your environment, what you're interested in, and also it has your time zone right at the very beginning. So we can kind of focus on that, and maybe we'll expand this from every other week to having one in EMEA and one on Asia Pac, and America. So we're kind of feeling this out. This is kind of new territory for us, so we're excited that you're helping us participate with this and get this rolling. Next, we'll go to product news. So we have ZCM 2020 Update 1 anytime. I mean, we're talking, we just finished testing last week on the final candidate. They're doing some back-end stuff, trying to get it polished for you guys so that we can get Update 1 out to you anytime. And I'd be surprised if it wasn't this week. So be aware that that's happening. That's why I kind of jumped into the Update 1 logging for this particular ZENcast. So the appliance and security patches are out there, and the Proof for May obviously is out there. We're halfway through the month. That comes out at the beginning of the month. But the appliance has some security patches, as well as ZSD. Of course, we're on version 8.12 is the latest. ZSD appliance security patches came out just this week. So you'll see those on the online updates in the administration console, right? Again, if there's any questions that you have, Alyssa or Enrique or anybody else that's out there, feel free to put it in chat, and I'll try and catch those and answer them as we go. ZENworks reporting server, again, an appliance. Security patches are out there. They're trying to do a 3-month cadence on these security patches for the appliance. I know Service Desk, they did it back in January. Now it's May. So they've been keeping to that particular cadence, or February to May. Database migration tools for ZCM and ZSD. There's some tools out there. If you're migrating from one platform to another, there's some tools actually that help you to do that. If it's not in the tool itself, I'm sure the documentation will help guide you through that so that you can get a very good smooth move on your migration. Those are the product news. Have some Microfocus resources. Again, Microfocus is sensitive to your COVID needs. They put out way back in March some free filer licenses through September, I believe it was, so that you can work from home or your company can work from home, being able to install that appliance and get you guys so that you can actually work from home a little bit easier. I'll go ahead and put in some of these commands here in case you need to press on them and you can get to those locations. Newly designed Microfocus support pages. If you haven't seen it, it looks great. Okay, I really like how they've done it. When Microfocus first pulled Novell in and we were trying to get the website going, it was a little choppy, but they've really improved that. So I'm going to show that off today. And basically, yeah, it's microfocus.com and then support. But I think it warrants me buttoning into this particular slide presentation and looking at that right now. Let me go ahead and do that. I have an update going on. Let me go ahead and open this up. I'm going to go to microfocus.com. Okay, similar to what the Novell had. So they kind of dovetailed the two together. And if we go to support, and we go to support here. You can see that they have the different things here for documentation, knowledge base, licenses, and so forth. You can choose your... Yes, Alyssa, go ahead. You can choose your product. Check out ZENworks. Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Alyssa, and ask that question you have. So now this is everything on the service desk side. You can go ahead and click documentation or your licenses. If you're not logged in, it'll ask you to log in. Okay. If you go into your license, which is your customer portal, you can log in. Does the new update cover the problem about duplicated GUIDs? Duplicated GUID. I'm gonna probe a little bit, Alyssa, about your question. Duplicate GUIDs in bundles on the update. Was there a defect or an SR opened on this, and how can we help direct that? Back to the customer center. So you see it just logged us right on in, and we can get to our particular keys and downloads and so forth. So I think they did a really, really good job with this site. So if we went back over to training or knowledge base, so it's not clicks and typing. You can pretty much do it clicks along the way. It makes it a little bit easier. And here's our knowledge base. Knowledge base was changed a little bit, as well as the ideas portal, which you'll see. So be aware that there's been some changes. It looks a little bit different, but to me it looks a lot more like the Novell had prior to the acquisition. So I think they've combined the two and really done a great job. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get back to my slide deck. Yeah, Alyssa, go ahead, and I'm not sure about what duplicated GUIDs. I don't know. I'm not up to date on all of the defects and stuff. But there is a README that will come out with Update 1 that will list all the defects and where your download is for Update 1. And as soon as it comes out, the next ZENcast, I'll make sure to have it on my slides. But you can actually review all the different defects that have been posted that update fixes, okay? As well as the README will have all the enhancements and features that are going into it, because they're pouring a bunch of stuff into that. So I'm not certain about the duplicate GUIDs that you're referring to. But if you want to, you can always email me, paul.pedron@microfocus.com, and I'd be happy to help direct you even further, finding that SR or that defect, and move that question forward so we get an answer for you. Okay, and then we have product lifecycle. If you wanted to see the product lifecycle page, I hope that helps, Alyssa. I don't want to put you on the spot on getting too many details during this ZENcast, but feel free to email me, because I'd be happy to redirect you to the right person or resolution for that. We're going to go ahead and move on to Micro Focus Education Resources. So again, if you're in chat, you can type these commands in, this exclamation on demand, to get that URL so that you can actually go to it right now. Micro Focus On Demand training, there's a course catalog out there. What it'll do is it'll basically take you to this location. Let's see if I can, I'll put it in here, and I'll go to now. If you haven't paid for on demand, because there are pay for very structured courses in here, okay, so these are structured courses, but if you notice, there are free ones. Okay, so you don't have to pay for everything. And there's also, this is a ZENworks one under ZENworks Configuration Management. Micro Focus Desktop Containers. There's a service desk that's free. Okay. And as you go in here, you'll then see a series of videos kind of in a training format. This is the informal side because it's free, that you can go through. So if it's zone related, you can go to the zone area or section. If it's database related, you can go to the database, and there's 2 here. Newly, and we're going to come up on this in just a minute. Thanks, Alyssa. Yeah, go ahead and email me. In just a minute, we're going to cover this particular URL, but we just got from Oliver over in Europe, did a fantastic job on the latest updating on ZCM imaging, Windows 10 using WinPE. He has a 3-part series and tools and a cool solution all combined on this little series of videos that'll help you get up and running from start to finish. I have to log in to access the course. Obviously, I haven't logged in. It is free, so even if you have an account, you'll be able to get to the course. But I haven't logged in here. But it has the cool solutions in here. On the cool solutions is a download for being able to get the scripts and stuff that he's using. He did a fantastic job. So kudos to Oliver. He's even doing one in German. So if you're more susceptible to the German language, he'll have that out, and I'll try and post those out here as well. I manage a couple of these, the ZENworks system, the service desk, and I have the Micro Focus desktop containers, as well as I can manage some. I'm doing a ZENworks reporting free as well. Okay, so a few things there. I hope that helps you learn more about the product, right? Even if you have other products like Filer or Open Enterprise Server, there are formal training out there. There soon will be a ZENworks 2020 Architect, which is, you see the ZENworks 2017 Architect. There's also a 2020 coming out. So look here occasionally if you're looking for something and not certain. A lot of these are linked to YouTube videos. So you have, if you're out on YouTube, it might be redundant, but we're trying to get everybody. Not everybody knows about this particular site, so we're hoping they can hone in here so they can actually see more of the products. Okay. So back to our presentation. Let's go see what else is going on. ZENworks webinar recordings. 2 new webinars coming up. Okay, and we're going to cover that in just a minute. But if you type in webinars in the chat, again, it should come up with the URL so that you can click on that and chat and go directly to it if you need it. All right, so just click on this URL down here, and it'll take you directly to it. Again, the documentation, we covered that, as well as there's forums out there. They've redesigned it, gave it a new branding, coloring look, and I really like it. So be sure to check it out if you haven't been out there. I was so surprised the other day seeing that, and I was like, yes, I think this will really work well. Upcoming videos, here's the upcoming videos. So what's new in ZENworks 2020 Update 1? Now this is more of the feature set. Thank you, Enrique. I take it you've taken some of the training or been out there and viewed some. So thank you for that compliment on good training. What's new in ZENworks 2020 Update 1 is coming up, and that's in a couple weeks. And then a couple weeks beyond that is protecting data with ZENworks. So be aware that those are out there. Again, if you go out to the site or if you type in the Q2 webinars, it'll take you right to the registration site, and you'll be able to click on the link. Okay. I have the URLs in the slide so that if people are watching the recording, they can actually at least get to them a little more manually, but they can get to them. So be aware that those are coming up. They should be real exciting. Like I said, Update 1 should be out anytime now. And these are the ZENworks videos. Again, I put the URLs in here in case you missed them or you're watching the recording. Part 1, preparing the WinPE environment, installing ADK. Part 2, building the golden imaging tools install. And part 3 is the add-ons, deploying English, configuring and imaging the deployment bundles, and Windows 10 best practices using ZCM, moving to WinPE tools needed. This is that cool solutions I was talking about. So be sure to check that out, as well as YouTube will have these, but they're also linked in that training. Micro Focus on-demand training, we just went there. Exclamation OD, feel free to type that in chat. Thank you, Oliver, for doing that. A shout out to Oliver. Worked real hard on getting those done for us. Micro Focus product ideas portal. Changed a little bit. The numbers are not the same. So I went to an old link of ideas portal, idea number whatever, and clicked on the link, and it did not go, obviously, to the right place. So the numbers, I haven't found out if they're indexing them yet. It just opened up the new ideas portal, so they may be indexing the old to new, but the ideas portal's also moved, and it's out there as well. Micro Focus Security Engage newsletter, and I think this also deserves a shout out. As I'm moving through the social media, understanding how Micro Focus has their social media set up and how they're helping us get out there and on LinkedIn and Facebook and stuff like that for ZENcast, I'm finding they have a lot of stuff out there that they've done already. And I want to show you this particular, this is going to pull up this one, this newsletter. I think this deserves a shout out too, because they've done a great job on this newsletter. It's an security engagement newsletter. It has events, products, partnerships, resources, enablements, community. So if you look through here, you'll find things on a lot of different products, as well as here's the UVerse, right? Register now. If you go through these, you'll see things for ZENworks. You'll see things, topics on data protection. It's just very smartly done. How they're doing different things, and throughout Micro Focus, what we're trying to do for our customers and how customers have resolved issues. Okay, so there's a virtual UVerse. It'll take you directly there. ZENcast Live, database migrations. That particular episode is in here. So be aware that this is here. The Engage newsletter is really good. I'm excited about it and happy to be able to put some of our stuff in there as well. So be aware that that's there. Okay. I hope you can take a look at that. We're going to talk about troubleshooting update 1. We've talked, like I said, any other questions on links and stuff? I appreciate the feedback from Enrique and Alyssa and anybody else that's out there. Thank you so much for joining us. We're in ZENcast. We're going to be talking about troubleshooting update 1 and the logs. Are there any other questions on the news and stuff yet? I got nothing in chat, so I'm going to move on. We're going to do a little ZENcast lab talk, all right? So before we go to lab, we're going to, we did in the past, we did a migration or an update to update 1, obviously using the Lighthouse version. We did the installation. We did a migration of 2020. We've done different formats of upgrading to update 1. We've talked about what's in it and so forth. But now we need to talk about if you're using Appliance, Windows, or Linux, and what to do when you're installing it. I know we did the install. Now let's kind of look a little deeper depth of it. Does that work for you? Let's try that. And that's some of this. Again, we had questions last week about bundles. I kind of generically put these bundles out there, and I think it's a pretty good format for ZENworks itself. ZENworks management. Thank you, Enrique. ZENworks management and questions. What is the goal? What is the issue? How do we achieve our goal? What are the dependencies? Who's allowed? Time sensitive and final results. As an administrator, These are kind of those change control questions or things management might ask, or what we need to make sure we do before we actually do an update, or how we follow up, right? So I kind of put these in for our thing today as well. So our goal is to apply the ZCM 2020 Update 1 system update. The issue is the latest fixes and features applied to the zone, right? Whether it's primary, satellite, or managed device. Test and document. How do we achieve our goal? We test it, we document it. The zone, what are the dependencies? There are some zone dependencies. There may be appliance dependencies or Linux dependencies. There may be agent version dependencies. So we have to look at those. Who's allowed? Administrators. What kind of administrators? We'll go a little deeper. Maybe it's a DBA. Maybe it's just a ZCC administrator. Or if you're on Windows or Linux and you need that elevated rights to install that RPM, right? And then the final results achieved. We, of course, want to, time sensitive. Time sensitive is, do we schedule this, or is this something we could just deploy out? Because even in our bundle, time sensitivity wasn't an issue. So we didn't have to schedule it, right? We could just deploy it out. It was Notepad++, and we just deployed it now, or available for the user to actually implement it or install it. But in this case, we're doing an update. There will be some downtime. So change control might need to be notified if you have a change control process, and it needs to be scheduled. How much time do we schedule? That goes back to our test and document, right? So that'll help us. And then final results achieved, of course, we want to be able to achieve success, okay? So we're gonna run through a few of these. What is the goal? Oh, that's a repeat. The goal. Review the documentation for the update, obviously, no brainer. There'll be a TID out there that will have, like I said, the downloads, and I'll post it as soon as it's released. What fixes there were, what enhancements there might be, where are the downloads, what are the prerequisites, how do you install it, do you need to do a zman command, or will it come into ZCC, those types of things. Understand new features and enhancements, understand the fixes, right, those defects, and how it might impact your users. It may do, free up some things on their workstation because it has a particular fix, and now you can move forward with that feature or enhancement. Understand the impact to other services. Okay, so if you're connecting ZCM to other products like Service Desk, Reporting Server, or other products that aren't even Micro Focus, you may have an AD server, you may have LDAP, different things. So understand that impact, right? Because if you change something, will it impact those other services and cause other issues? How do we achieve our goal? We test the zone, and we test the zone. Test zone is updated, right? We identify the steps experienced for your test environment, so you have a benchmark. You know what we might do? Let's go to the lab and kick off one of these installs. So while it's installing, we can go through these slides. That way we tackle two birds with one stone. So let's go ahead, and we're going to go out to this guy. So I've preempted. I've done an import in this particular zone. You can see it's at 2020. I'm going to log in as a ZCC administrator. And typically, the system update, typically you'll go to check for updates, right? These are all grayed out. Why are they grayed out? Because I don't have my system entitlement configured. Your system entitlement will allow you to do your system updates. How I got this in was a zman sui command, which you can do on your test environment. If you're not configuring this particular, you can typically do the zman sui, which is system update import. But if you needed to, most zones have this already configured. System update settings, and then the same key that's used is the Novell customer settings. So be aware that those are there, and that's why this is grayed out. Should you throw up a zone real quick and it's grayed out, it'll tell you. All right. But I imported it. It's waiting authorization. It'll go through a download process. Then it'll go through another process where it will prepare. So it goes through a prepare process. After it downloads, it then extracts and is preparing for deployment. And then it's waiting authorization. Boy, having a hard time speaking today. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to go and deploy or authorize. Notice I can't deploy. I have to authorize first. And as ECC administrators, you can give rights or permissions to those that can authorize the update, that can deploy the update, that can check for updates. So you can narrow down those particular tasks to ZCC administrators. So be aware that those are there. Okay, and that's in the rights and permissions. We're going to go ahead and authorize. I have authorization permissions, so it'll go ahead and authorize and be ready to deploy in just one moment. Notice this one is labeled high, and it does go to all devices. This doesn't mean it's going to go to all devices right now. It applies to all devices. And wait. This is the hurry up and wait. Actually, this normally goes really quick, this authorization. I'm hoping I don't have problems with my... Let me go over to... That's taking a minute. Now you're in the lab, right? Here's my backup machine. I think I've got it here. Go configuration. Yeah, timed out. Hang on. Oops. This one I think I kicked off already. Oh no, authorization. We'll go ahead and authorize this one. Authorize update. This one has all the licensing and everything in it. Shouldn't take long at all. But this prevents unauthorized deployment of different updates. So having those permissions in check is really a good thing. I'm surprised that it's taken that long. Oh, there it goes. Ready to deploy. Okay. Let's see if the other one is ready to. Yeah, ready to deploy. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to deploy this to which server? We're going to deploy it to the primary server that has the database. How do we figure that out? Well, we can go to diagnostics for one. How do we figure it out without going to the database and typing in those query commands? If you go to diagnostic, it'll tell you exactly where your databases are. There we go. And we can see that we have a Postgres internal database. It's on 92. And our ZCC primary is 92. Okay, so we know it's an internal. All right. So if we had multiple servers in here, we would want to find out where that is. If it's an external, you don't have to be so concerned about which one to do first. It's just if you have a database, internal database residing on a primary, you want to make sure you update that one first because you don't want communication to the database while it's being updated, as well as you want to update the schema first and then update your primaries. Okay? So we're going to go back here to configuration, system updates. And we're going to go ahead and deploy this to devices. And we do one at a time on the primaries. Then satellites. After the first one, you can then deploy it to multiples. Satellites, multiple satellites. I went kind of quick through this. You've probably seen it before because you've deployed a bundle, but we're going to do it to selected devices. Okay. If you want to know where your GUID is for your update, you can select the README and it'll take you to the README. Here's some details about the particular update. Here's a TID that'll be coming out referring to update 1. All right. So we're doing selective updates. How do we want the reboot behavior? We want to prompt reboot when finish update. Okay. There are other things if you want to. You can deploy, if you're doing the agent to manage devices, you can just say don't reboot the device. They may be having some sensitive things going on in that particular box and you don't want it to reboot, and then they'll manually reboot. So we have options for you. But for the very first one, we're going to select a server in subfolders, and it's called test. We'll go ahead and you can schedule when to do it, which particular date. Instead, we're going to go now. We want it running now. And then it gives you a summary of the update, how you're rebooting and so forth, what the schedule is. Then you hit finish. This prompt is really good to have. If you highlight this, or I don't have DNS running, so I'm going to copy this. And the 7444 system update SU status will tell you as the update continues. Because it's going to power down services on that primary, but how can I look at the update if they're powering down services, right? So I'm going to put in here and it'll come up with a status or a progress for my updates. At the same time, if we deploy this one, might as well. This is my Windows box. I'm going to deploy it also to my primary server. In this case, I do have a couple of servers in here. This is my first primary. I'm going to say now. Finish. Notice the prompt, right? And we're going to put in the IP address. Going back to this guy, you can see that it's initializing the system update. So it's actually running right now. It's initializing, and then you'll see it running with a percentage. That's on my 92. Okay. On my other one, you can see it's also initializing. It's probably powering down or will power down soon. This ZCC, right? The services for ZCC. But this will stay up. And for every primary server and satellite server, it'll stay in the list. So if you're starting with this particular server, you go back to that 744 address or port, system update SU status, and you're deploying others, you'll see them list out right here. Okay? So as that's running, we're going to go ahead and we'll pop back into these occasionally. Oh, you can see it's updating the schema. 8%. All right? We'll pop back. Let's go ahead back to our presentation on the PowerPoint so we can go through some of the other things. and kill the time. So you want a benchmark for your time, right? So you deploy it to a test zone. You may not have the same exact zone, obviously, as you do in your production, but at least you'll have some kind of guesstimate, as well as identifying steps to apply to the production zone. Do you need a DBA? Do you need some type of support or some documents that help you with those steps? Know the system update GUID, and we'll cover that in just a minute when we go through the logs, okay? So knowing that GUID is very important. As we did the update, I showed you click on this to get your GUID, but we'll go ahead and look at that in a little bit. So some of the things you need is the test zone updated. Then in the production zone, you want to review the documentation, README, and the upgrade TID, all right? So we've mentioned this a couple times. Documentation is important. Don't take these steps in this presentation as how to do update 1. Be sure you refer to your documentation for your system requirements and your prerequisites, okay? Because I'm not doing every environment here. I'm just running through it so you get an idea. But if you follow these steps and refer to those documentations in the steps, I think it'll go quite smooth. Also look at some of the videos that are out there. There's some videos about upgrades and how a Windows environment or an appliance environment was upgraded. Okay. Apply to production. Verify prerequisites. There may be an RPM setting, an RPM that you have to deploy on Linux, or settings that have to be in place. System requirements for space and versions for servers and databases. Don't forget your databases. We have the audit database, we have the ZENworks database, and now the Vertica database if you're using Vertica. Okay. Apply to production. Primaries one at a time. So the very first one, you power down connection of primary services on the other primaries, except for the first one. You run it on that one, and then you start running it on the other primaries, and make sure it shows successful before you continue on. Okay, the ZCC shows successful. And then satellites. Once ZCC recognizes it as the latest version, that means it's done an inventory and responded back, and it sees the update is complete, which means the reboots happened. You're good. And then you can move to the managed device. Really, after the satellites, you're done with the update, right? Because the managed devices you could do, and you probably have to schedule those different timings. You want to run on the primary for a little while to make sure everything's working okay, how you expect it to, then deploy to the managed devices at a later time. So really, once you're done with the satellites, you're pretty much done with an update, and then you can continue updating the rest of the zone on the managed devices, because the managed devices will continue to run just fine on the older agent. They just won't have the enhancements and features, right, or the fixes. You want to make sure the primaries and satellites are both at the same level across the board. Okay, that makes sense? Dependencies, what is required? Server operating systems, databases. As you know, 2017 allowed Sybase. 2020 does not. Okay, so that's an example of Sybase. So you have to do a migration prior to, and if you have internal Sybase or external Sybase, make sure you migrate that prior to, and that we have tools to do that. Space on the server, on VA storage, on external content repo, if you have one, on databases, make sure you have the space needed when you move, okay, or migrate or upgrade. So some of these actually fall into a full migration or upgrade too, as well as this update. Dependencies completed to all zone components, okay. Pre-upgrade maintenance. Do you need to do some database pruning? Okay. Is there any database maintenance you need to do, or content replication? Is it replicated to all of the primaries? ZDC, run your backups, some of the generic stuff, but this is a good checklist. Software prerequisites, RPM, I talked about that. Also, .NET Framework, maybe on your agent side or on your server side, make sure you have all the prerequisites or dependencies are there. Activation license, for updates, you don't need it. For upgrades, you do. When you're going from 2020 to 2021, you'll need that. Okay. Infrastructure services needed. Do you need DNS? Like I didn't have DNS loaded here, so I needed to do the IP. So DNS, DHCP, those types of infrastructure services, as well as network connection mapping, AV exclusions. Do you have those dialed in, firewall settings configured, so you don't have any hangups as you go. Again, when you do this in your test environment is still somewhat sterile, right? But you want to try and map it as close as you can to get the results you're looking for as far as what you need to do in production. And then it's not recommended to run an upgrade or an update or system upgrade process remotely via PuTTY or SSH. Should you lose connection, should something happen, you'll be in the middle of it, and if it's waiting for a response or something, it just can get ugly. So it's not recommended. Go to the terminal, go to the console if you need to go ahead and run those. We talked a little bit about who has permissions. Administrator in Zenworks system. Is the database SA passwords required? You'd find this out if you ran it in test, right? So you run it in test, you go, oh, don't need that. Yep, need that. Administrator on operating systems. Do they need that? Administrator of other connected services. So it impacts the ZRS if we had ZRS reporting, because we'd have to reconfigure the database or the version of the database. And so I may need an administrator on that other service to be able to upgrade that later when we're done. Okay, so that's permissions. And time sensitive. Schedule accordingly. Okay, do you have change control? Do you need to notify the vendor? Notify us. Let us know if you're doing an upgrade or an update. We love to know. Just give us a ring in, email one of your techs that you've done in the past. Say, hey, I'm upgrading this weekend. Is there any issues? Any hard stops? Is there anything I need to do to prepare? You'll probably get a response back saying, yeah, make sure you run ZDC, have your backups in order, check your documentation, the generic stuff. But be sure to let us know, because we'll make sure that we're on 24/7, but we want to make sure we have the people available for you. And if we know ahead of time, we're prepared. We're able to dial right in and get you serviced in case something goes wrong. Okay. So notify the vendor. And what is the hard stop for the success and the failure? Let's say you're moving along and it fails, and you're trying to fix. What's your hard stop to back out, right? Or you're doing a success, or you had a failure and you're working on it again and it's starting to work now, right? What's your hard stop for success? I mean, if this finishes at X time, are we okay? Because Monday morning comes real quick sometimes on weekends. I remember when I was an administrator. Have a backup plan, and then identify the point of no return. Again, 2017 has Sybase, 2020 doesn't. So the point of no return is upgrading to 2020, right? Let's say we migrated our 2017 Sybase to PostgreSQL, and now we're upgrading our 2017 to 2020. Once we do that, that's the point of no return. So identify the point of no return for your environment for that upgrade. In this case, 2020 to update 1, that has a different point of no return. Not really a whole lot of hard stops there as far as a point of no return. It's just an update. But this particular list can be helpful in a lot of categories. And then the notification list. Make sure you have a notification list. And this should be documented in your company documentation about your environment. It just makes it so much easier. Notification, identify names and contact info for admins, DBAs, supervisors that you may need to escalate to. When I was a customer, I know we had this chain of command, and come 2 a.m. on that Monday morning, I had to make sure, if we were still having problems, I had to make sure certain people were notified, right? Because we had a hard stop, and we're not getting the update or whatever for the particular environment we were upgrading at the time. You just need to, if you have these, they're just right there. And then vendor support. Make sure you have the vendor support account number and phone number for the administrator. So if the administrator is just doing this update and they need to contact somebody, updates are pretty simple. Normally you don't need a whole lot of resources. Just have this number available so they can call in and be able to contact somebody in case it is 2 a.m. in the morning and you don't have to scramble from home trying to find the account number and the vendor phone number. Okay, so be aware of those things for time sensitivity. And then the final results. Was your goal achieved? So that's a yes, no, because we go back to the first slide. What was your goal? All steps completed. So remember I said the update is really finished when you finish with that last satellite. But all the steps aren't completed yet because you still want to do your managed devices. So the update's complete on the zone. You now need to update the rest of your managed devices. So all steps completed. Follow-up needed. Is there follow-up needed? Did we have a defect? Did we have a problem? Did we have an issue that, we need to make sure we go back and do this service? Or is there a follow-up needed? I need to turn this enhancement on or feature on. And then, of course, your company documentation. Make sure you update that so you have it. Just makes it so much easier to transfer to another human being able to take care of some of these processes. And it's a training tool. It's a wonderful training tool. Okay. So that's my list. We went through our questions. We're going to go back to the lab now. Any questions on those questions? Questions on the questions. Let me know if there's any questions on the questions. And we will go ahead and move forward if not. Let me go here. You can see we're at 41% here. This is on my 92, which is an appliance. All right. You see it's updating packages. If we go over to here, we're at 28. And it's not done yet, and I expected it not to be done yet. But and the reason why is I want to show you a few tools. So we're going to open, wait a minute. We go to the lab. We're going to the lab. Yeah, let's go through these. Document settings. Know the GUID of the object. We mentioned that before. Steps completed for the update. This is so we can look into the tools, okay? I was going to go to the logs just now, and it's like, well, we didn't cover the logs. Let me go back and cover the logs. Steps completed for the update. New features and enhancements. Debug logging. Do we need it in debug logging? Typically, you won't have it for an update until something fails, right? Then you'll have to put it in debug, try again, those types of things. And then some of the standard logs, as well as, this is a great troubleshooting slide, all right? For the system update stages, the logs. When it's downloading or importing, if it's failing on this particular issue, right? You go and you do download latest updates or look for updates. If it's failing, look in the loader messages log in the ZMan log. Okay, ZMan is if you're importing it yourself or rebuilding it, but loader messages logs will show you where it's failing, should it be failing. And then you go to authorize, check your ZCC log and your pre-global actions log if it's failing. If it won't authorize at all, it stays in that preparing mode. It says, can't authorize. Check those logs. Because if you don't have authorization to authorize that update, it'll be grayed out. You won't be able to select it anyhow. But NCC register and updates. So Zen loader logs, ZCC logs, and service messages logs. And should any of these fail at these particular locations, like applying to the primary, here's your log list to send support. Okay? So this really helps us when you contact us. You're right in the middle of that update, right? And it is 11 at night. You've been working all day preparing for this, and now it's 11 at night, and it's go time, and it's failing to apply to the primary. Well, if you're getting ready to call us, grab those logs, call us, and we can respond that much faster. Okay, so I just want to make sure that you have this list of logs, applying to primaries, applying to satellites, applying to managed devices. Again, the satellites and managed devices, these are the Linux. Otherwise, it's under the logs, which you've seen on the Windows. And then baseline. If you're trying to baseline and it's not baselining, loader messages logs. So I wanted to make sure that we had this before we went too far into troubleshooting that as we went. Let me see what's next. And then I'm going to present this slide quickly. We're not going to go over everything because this is more of a system update logs and what they do. But should you want to troubleshoot this yourself before going in, maybe you're in your test lab and it's failing, and you go, I don't want to spend an SR, right? Because it's in my test lab. I should be able to analyze this myself. You want a little bit of that learning curve. Here you go. Here's some logs and what they do and where to look for them. For system updates, you want to look for, like, the main log is system update log. Pre-global action logs is when it's doing its schema update. The Zeus messages logs for refresh and content. Zeus update commands. You'll have these particular logs in those locations. And then Linux ZENworks logs exist primarily in the var op Novell logs ZENworks directory, right? And the Windows is in the ZENworks logs directory. And that goes with the appliance too. But also note that the system update cookbook version 2020 is out there. Okay, so if you can reference there to see some of these logs and understand what they're used for. Okay, so be aware that those are there. Things like ZENworks version install log.log, that's built at the end of the install. When it's complete or failed, it'll give you that. And then whether or not it's install or upgrade, major versions. Okay. All right. We're not going to do next week in the lab yet. We're going back to the lab. Let's go back. So here's our logs. Let's go to, we need to know our GUID. Remember I said, hey, what's our GUID? If we click, oh, it probably hasn't reset yet. Yeah, because it's still installing. There's another way to find it. We are not going to G, we're going to the local. Let's go to C. Program files, Novell, ZENworks, logs. As soon as you have your first system update, so this was a 2020 appliance that I installed brand new, it creates a system update directory, and it's obviously updated it with 2020 update 1. I have a slide. I didn't present this slide in this presentation, but to dissect what is what the GUID stands for, this is a system update. This is the first. The next two is version 2020. The next two is update 1. And then back here is a timestamp. 2020 5 13 17. So May 13th version 17. So you can see over here, this is 2020 update 0, right? And you can see the timestamp. 2019 October 4th. So be aware that that's how you read those and how we come up with those. We're going to go right in here and we're going to go to system update log. A lot of stuff, right? Trying to figure out what this is. So instead of that, we know where it is. Let's go here. Copy this. Let's see if I can move this a little more center. I have a, oh, because I expanded it. That's why. If we go here, and we'll go to system update log. I love Baretail for Windows. All right. Same, it's basically a tail for Windows. And then what you can do is you can actually highlight certain things. So if I add percent, let me put in percent here, and I'm going to make it yellow. No, we'll make it blue. All right, okay. I should be able to see my... I have to play with this every time I do it. Let's see, percent, add blue, background. We'll go gray background. See if I get this right, because this should show me the percent. Oh, here we are. Percentage. It's doing it. So I'm at 36%. Okay. It's in this part of the install. You can see the 5.0 2020 update 1. Okay, that's in our system update log. If we look out here, we can see we're 36%, 35%. And it's on 36. It's not completed the 36% yet. But it'll go through and it'll keep a tally on this. It'll refresh and keep it going. There's 36% down here. All right. The other way we can do it, if you're on an appliance, let me go to my appliance. 92, yep. Tail. Okay, I got something wrong here. There it is. And we said 5.0. Oops. 5.0 numlocks have to be on. There we go. Log, and we'll do a pipe grep percent. Next time it refreshes with that, we should have something appear here. And oh, it's case sensitive, isn't it? We do this. Okay. So you can see it. This doesn't give us quite as much detail. Let's go ahead and Control C and do a percentage. There we go. Now we can see installing percentage 62%. So you can actually monitor here if you wanted to see what's going on. But that was prior to them actually putting in this particular screen, right? This is 62%. This is wonderful. They did a great job by adding this in and giving us some feedback on what's going on with this particular update. So Baretail is a good one to look at. Loader messages. If we did a look at this guy right here, trying to edit. Okay. Trying to get the, let's do highlight. We will do, instead of patch license, we'll do and then if we go okay, notice they turned pink. So we can follow that in the loader messages as well as in the system update log. We are currently looking at, I don't see percentage yet. Oh, it shifted everything. Okay, percent should be there. We're still at 38%. Yep, 38%. Okay, so you see how you can kind of follow between Windows and Linux. We can look at those. What are some of those other... So we're actually in the installer. We're installing. So pre-global actions, we can look at that. And the Novell ZENworks configure log. So let's look at those. If there's any questions, shout them out in chat. Happy to try and address those as we move along through this. I can't get this one. That's about as big as I can go with that. Let's go here. So let's do open, and we have our Novell. Oh, ZENworks configure. There's global actions log. You can see it was recently updated. So open that. And then if we look at Novell configure, what was the other one? Applying ZENworks configure log and system pre-global actions. Okay. Open this one. Pre-global. Did I already get that? Yeah, I already got that one. So it's saw that it was at 17.1. You can see that. Let's see. Let's go down to the bottom. So here's the updates status. So all the pre-global stuff, everything was a success. Finished and closing connections. So this is when it's preparing and doing some of those. The very first part of the schema and stuff is where you want to look at the pre-global. Okay? And it executes certain queries and commands and updates the OPEC data and its success. All right. Novell ZENworks configure is blank. Okay, so that's fine. It'll update it when it's done. Again, for system update, we go down to here. Glad I kicked it off early. This is 43%. I don't think we'll get to the end of, we can wait a little bit. So if something fails, right, you'll basically probably see it in here. You'll say failed. And then you'll want to refer to, obviously, this list or this list to see what it was doing at the time of failure. Typically, this one is for system update. This is for all the stages. All right. And I don't think mine is going to fail, knock on wood. But, oh, thank you, Enrique. Yes, part of, as Enrique mentions, take a snapshot of all your appliances before starting update 1. That's your backup, right? Either backup, normal backup processes that you have. It may be tape, it may be disk, it may be snapshots, whatever it is. So of course, yeah, in that process, we covered a little bit about that, is make sure you have your backups done. Thanks, Enrique. We want to make sure that that occurs so you have some fallback. Remember that backup plan I talked about? Make sure you have that backup plan. And that's part of having a backup so that you can fall back onto it. When I was a customer, one of our sayings was, if we didn't have a test environment on purpose, we'd have one by accident. Meaning, if we didn't have a test environment at all and we just went forward with updates, a very good possibility, if it failed, that we would have, that's basically our test, right? So try and cover yourself and make sure you throw open appliance. Just throw open appliance and do an update. If it's that, just that much, you're way ahead of the game. Okay, so thanks, Enrique, for mentioning that. That's very, very important to have. And so you know, the reason why I'm responding a little bit late to some of the questions may be because we're on about a 2-minute delay. So if you put in a question, I may see it right away, or if I miss it, I may see it a little bit later. if I respond a little bit later, that's why. So I appreciate your patience on that. I appreciate you prompting me again. But yeah, so you're welcome. That's very important, and everybody should know. Good to have that collaboration and you reminding, because I think of most of this talk, the most important thing is to have a backup. So good mention, and I appreciate the call out. So we're at 91% here. This is on my appliance. If we go over to my appliance over here, we should see percent. Remember, we're running percent. We got 92%. All right. So this, by doing a grep, you're filtering out all that other stuff, right? Otherwise, your eyes go buggy just trying to find what percentage am I? This is the normal look, right? So 94%. I'm seeing 94 in there somewhere. But if I just do a grep, if you're not familiar with Linux or the appliance, that's why I'm trying to include it in there. I was not. I was a Windows junkie. Got used to the Linux because obviously I had to, and had to look at the environment a little closer. Not so bad. I really like it. It's all there, and just knowing where to find it. One of my colleagues used to say is knowing where the bodies are laid, right? Knowing where the bodies are. So we're at 96% there. And let's go over to our other one. We have a second one running. It is going to be here. That's our appliance. If we go here, what do we have? Yeah, this one's a little farther behind. Windows, I have seen a tendency where the Windows OS, it takes a little bit longer because of the Windows platform, but it's moving along. Not that far behind. We're at 98. Any other questions? Comments? I was just before our presentation here, I was looking for some examples of failed upgrades. I didn't find any because I'd have to go back to 2017 and my SR is there. So I apologize for not having that log for you. Basically, you'd find it in the log is some type of an error. Right? Let's go back over here. But you would definitely see it. This one is on 54%. We're not going to look at this one too much anymore. Let's look, since we're almost done here, we're at 99%. We'll look at this guy. Now, one thing to know is when it says success here, that means the upgrade or the update is complete as far as the system update goes. However, the zone still has some things to do. What are some of the things we have to do? Anybody? Rebuild packages, because now we want to be deploying the agent with the update 1 package, right? So even though it says success here, when I said success in my slides, first primary is done, success, make sure ZCC says success, not this system update status success. Okay, we're going to wait for this to finish. It'll then do a restart, and then we'll dive into it and see it rebuilding. You guys probably seen it before. This won't show anything because we are the services are shut down, so this will fail connecting. That's what I love about this guy, though. They did a great job putting this in here. And then having if you run system updates from the same primary server that you started with to the other primaries and the other satellites, having it build down here, you'll see all of them and their progress, because you can do satellites all at the same time now. As long as your database is updated on that first one, you can then start deploying much faster, obviously. Yeah, see, it can't be reached because services are down. So those are some of the logs. One thing just be aware of is Baretail. I really like it. It seems to refresh and does what Tail does for me in the Windows environment, which makes me happy. because digging through logs can be painful. The other thing, oh, speaking of logs, sorry, this is what I wanted to mention. Let me see if I can get this. There we go. Let me minimize this. One other thing with logs is Notepad++. Really? Should have opened. Anyhow, let me go here. I installed it before we started. C program files. Okay. Let's open this up. Over a period of time, because looking at these logs can be cumbersome. And tail is great, but that's real time, right? And what about looking at logs afterwards? What I started doing is I started creating a language for my logs. And so, for instance, if we go to define your own language, where are we? Language. How come it's not showing up in here? Should have things in here. Because I'm on, let's open up a log. Open. And let's go to C, program files. We're going to go to the system update log. Logs, system update. This one. It's at the bottom. Okay, undock. Well, yeah, it took on its life. I must have had too many things open. So I'm using Zenworks Logging, and in my, yeah, Enrique, I agree. I hope you've used the language. If you haven't used the language, it works out really good. Define. I don't see my stuff in here. I don't know why it's not showing up, but you see it highlighting here. All right, that's because I've designated some stuff in my language for percent. Percentage installing 61%. So when I go to open my loader messages, for instance, not spinning. There we go. Give it a second to come up. I don't know I must be overdoing it on my, yeah. We'll give it a second to come up. How are we over here? We're still 99? Getting close. But the language actually gives you the ability to give different highlights. So I do green for successfully. I do red for false and errors and stuff. Though this probably shouldn't be red, right? Because false is not a bad thing in some of these. So I might need to change that. But looking at these logs, you can see, let's see if I can scan to see error. Error occurred while importing. Okay, gives you content. And I'm still trying to see if I can get to select that. Language. Oh, let's do this. Language, user defined language. If I do an import and I go to C, TS, utilities, import successful. Now I'm just going to have 2 in there. Doc. I'm sorry it's not showing what I was expecting to show you. It'll show you the styler where you pick your colors and what you want it to go on. If you want this file, the ZenWorks Logging file, I'd be happy to send it to you for this particular language. I also have one for Service Desk. But it actually shows you how you can make it come to life so you can see what's going on. You can skip through some of the stuff that you're not worrying about, querying and finished with data and obtaining license. You're not worried about that in this particular instance. So be aware that Notepad++ languages are very handy. If you're looking for particular languages that might be preset, let me know. Then what I'll normally do is I'll normally put the GUID in there. So if it happens to be in the log, it'll show up. So should be good there. Okay. So I want to make sure I showed you Notepad++. It's very, very handy. We're still sitting at 99%. If I do, let me try one thing here. Well, it's coming up. Oh, duh. Okay. I just figured it out. Define, let's go to Zenworks Logging. So this is where you set up your styler. Okay. So for this instance, red. And it relooks at the log every time you save something. So, and red consists of error, error occurred, false, conflict, error, bad, irrevocable, those types of things. And of course, styler success, green. Okay. So over a period of the logs, I've slowly put in the different GUIDs as well, and those would show up as purple. So it's very, very handy weeding through some of these. I have an MSI log language. I have a ZSD log language. So these are very handy to have. So be aware that those are there, and it'll just make your log hunting or digging a lot easier to understand. So it says update successful on 92, right? Probably rebooting. So let's see if we can reload. It's probably still working on it. Let me go over here and check. Yeah, there's 92. Okay. And it's just an update, so it's just going to stop and start services. It doesn't have to restart everything. Let me go to... Oh, it is up. So, notice 20, update 1. Log in. There we go. Okay. Configuration. Where it did read it and got it into the database, an inventory scan, or at least a version scan. Go to system updates. This is where I want you to realize that even though this says success, the update is a success, but notice it's still pending. Okay? The selected device, it's rebuilding deployment packages. click on it, it'll give you more detail. Okay, it says the same thing that it says when you're hovering. So if you just hover over the top, you'll see it. Nice thing about this is if you're doing a lot of devices, managed devices, you have this search over here now. And it's been there a little while. So you can search on those that are rebuilding, or that are maybe installing, or what percentage, and those types of things. You can search and filter those out. So we'll wait on rebuilding the deployment packages. We know that for the most part it's done. It's just finishing up with those packages. It has registered it in as 20.1 that we saw in the configuration. And at what point does a baseline? Anybody know what baseline is for? So it's at 20.1. With my zone here, let's go to home page and see what we got going in this zone. It's just an appliance. I think I just propped up just for this demonstration. Taking a little bit longer on my... Okay, there we go. There we go. So we can see that I just have a server in here. There's nothing else built in here. So it didn't have to do a whole lot of things, but it updated everything. The one thing I did want to mention also is if you say, oh, update successful, now I'm going to go do my other primaries, right? You close this out and you go over here and you're going to do system update, same box. You're starting on the same ZC you started with, and you go, wait, what was the name of, what was that URL? You can go over to view status and bring it back up. Okay. Now, if I were on my second primary and started it up, obviously that primary hasn't updated anybody yet, but this should come on up. The other thing is the auto refresh. Remember that you have the auto refresh 15, 30, 60 seconds here. So as you're doing your downloads and so forth, you can see that progress automatically updating and refreshing at that point. So be aware that this is here, right? This view status, handy dandy link right there. So is there any other questions on system update? It can go any direction, right? I mean, we want a successful upgrade, but with failures, it can go any direction. We're going to get into, in probably about a month, a few weeks down the road, we're going to get into actually looking at logs. I'll have a collection of logs for different things, and we'll go through whether it's a bundle, deployment, or policy, or system update, or whatever. We'll have some logs available to actually drill into that are failures, so you can kind of see how maybe Notepad++ might help, or how to diagnose some of those things and how to read them a little bit better. But that's your system update. Of course, mine is system update 1 FCSA because it is still not official, right? Which should happen, like I said, anytime. So be aware that that's coming soon to a download near you. Okay. So that's what I have. If I don't have any other questions, I'll wait a couple seconds, see if there's any questions out there in chat. I appreciate chat, Enrique, Alyssa, for chatting with us. I'm going to go ahead and go back over to my deck here. Next week in the lab, what are we doing? What do we want to do? So I'm trying to take some of the leads from the survey that's out there and those people that have emailed me and so forth. Next week, the ZENcast, again, it's every other Tuesday, first and third of each month. And if you're subscribed, you'll get a notice, right? Upcoming topics on June 9th, first and third. See, that's wrong. That's not the 9th, is it? No, it's the 2nd. This is incorrect. So June 2nd will be our next June 2nd. Provisioning through policies. We're going to look at policies. So we got ZCM. We did a little bit of bundles. We need to look at policies. How can policies be deployed? What's the difference between ZCM and ZESM policies? There's an add-on you can get with the suite, Endpoint Security Management. What's the difference? Do I need ZESM as an add-on? What does it provide for me? And then what are the limitations of deploying policies? And some troubleshooting. Looking at logs again. We're going to try and look at logs each time. Every time we do something in the lab, it's very important that you see what goes on so that we can look at the logs and see what's going on. Again, it's June 2nd, not June 9th. I hope to see you here. Be sure to stay safe. I hope this was something that you were able to reap something from. Thank you, Enrique, for the feedback. We'll see you in the next ZENcast, and stay safe out there. Hope to see you soon and participate, and be kind. Thank you, everybody.